Why has the McLaren become suddenly so dominant? From the beginning of the season, after the McLaren lost about 48 to 49 seconds to Red Bull, that they were behind the Ferrari in Bahrain. They said they are bringing upgrades and they started from where they stopped last year and they are going to be better. Then Red Bull said, oh, the RB20 is the best car, it's going to be dominant and they're going to make it even podless, like what Mercedes did in 2020, 22 and 2023. So McLaren focused on their pipeline of upgrades and they've been bringing upgrades that has been working. And the turn of tides started in China. They were unable to show their hand in China with the upgrades they brought, but it really showed up in Miami when they got to Miami that the upgrades are working, and they kept on bringing upgrade after upgrade after upgrade that were really working. But the turn of tide showed for Red Bull after Japan. The upgrades they brought were not working, they were not suiting the car. So also Ferrari. But McLaren had been consistently bringing upgrades that are working. That is, they know their car, they know what the car needs, they understand their design, and they know what they need to do to make the car work fine. And kudos to Andre Stella and his team, and also Zach Brown, for trusting Andre Stella with that job to make sure they deliver a car, or should I say they deliver a perfect vehicle that would not just short-live or outlive, but that would do a better job than what they have been doing in the past years. So like I said, kudos to Andre Stella, kudos to Zach Brown. Now, they've brought upgrades that have worked since Miami, but unfortunately, one of the problems they've been having is consistency. Now, if you look at McLaren, they've not been a team that dominated for a long time or that is trying to dominate. This year, I'm not sure they're trying to really dominate. They are just trying to show what they will do in 2025 and beyond, and to maximize or make sure they get the best out of their engineers and also out of their personnel. That, I believe, is what they are. They just want to strengthen the team, believe in what they are doing, and make sure they have a strong team challenge for competition, because they know certainly that 2025 might be difficult. Lewis Hamilton going to Ferrari, Ferrari also getting better, Mercedes getting better already, and Red Bull already in the lead. So they kept on churning upgrades through the pipeline, and these upgrades have worked. Now, why have they not translated it? One, they've made a lot of mistakes all through the season, especially with their setup. Yes, setup had been one of their mistakes, because sometimes they don't set the car up for a good long run, that is, for a good race run. Sometimes they set their car up better for qualifying than a good long run, and sometimes they also set it up for a good long run and a worse qualifying, which has been a mix for them all through the season. And up until towards the middle of the season, they start getting it right, knowing what to do about it. Now, two, one of the challenges they've had, how to work on their structure to make sure they are able to bring a car, or they're able to work with their personnel, or their personnel are able to work with the drivers to make sure they win and coordinate to win race. And how does that affect them? Number one, pit stops have not been good for them. They were only able to make it work in Miami due to a free pit stop in which they had. Pit stops have not been good for them, and they've worked on that presently. Also, knowing tires to go on and taking advices from their inexperienced drivers. Now, they are learning through it because their drivers are inexperienced. Certainly, yes, they are inexperienced, so they can tell them, oh, this will work, and the engineers too know that that might not work. So they need to know how to work along the drivers to know what will really work on their car and what will really work for them at a particular point in time. If you remember the race in Silverstone, that was what happened. They had that in Austria also, but coupled with Max Verstappen's incident, that really flawed or destroyed their race. So those are the things they've been working on, though they will still have these issues as the season goes, but clearly they're already a benchmark. The car has shown that in qualifying in Belgium, they really showed they are a very, very fast car, but Mercedes were able to pull some stunts. But now Mercedes cannot continue from where they stopped in the middle of the season with their upgrades that are failing. They are still using the same upgrades that they used in Belgium that failed them, and they didn't really have time to work on that upgrade in Zandvoort because there was rain in the air all through, so they were unable to get the best out of the upgrades in Zandvoort. But leaving that aside, McLaren had been consistent. They brought upgrades that worked on the track, and the upgrades really separated the boys from the men. They showed that they are now the man in control. In qualifying, Lando Norris was miles ahead of Max Verstappen. They could even have got him more, even with some mistakes and the wind that didn't work well for them. And in the race, they were so confident that at a point they were even like they want to come out again with Lando Norris to overtake. That shows where they are presently, that they are so confident about themselves. They really believe in that car and they believe in what the car can. With the pipeline still coming out, upgrades coming in Monza and some other races, it has shown that McLaren are in the right space and in the right direction. They know where they are going to, they know what they need to do, and they know what needs to be done to win race. With this we are looking at presently with McLaren, it shows that McLaren can clinch the Constructors' Championship. And if need be, if Ferrari and Mercedes can step up their game against Red Bull, which I see might personally happen, because Ferrari needs to work on the car this year to make sure they have a very good car compete next year, then it's going to be a very difficult one for if Ferrari and Mercedes really get on top this car in which they're having. So if they can push it, it's going to be a plus for McLaren. If Ferrari and Mercedes can keep pushing Red Bull behind themselves, which means McLaren can set the pace, the benchmark, winning races, and they might also clinch the Drivers' Championship. But is it possible? Anything is possible in F1. 2014 to 2022, we saw the dominance of Mercedes, but the dominance of Mercedes was not as dominating as the Red Bull's dominance. We still see Red Bull, Ferrari winning races in those dominant years of Mercedes, but in the dominant years of Red Bull, we can only see teams winning 1 or 2 races in a 22-24 races season. That is poor. But in 2024, we've seen a lot of changes. We've seen how these teams have set up and stood up, tried to own it up to themselves that they need to win races, and that is happening already. And let us see if these teams, especially McLaren, can carry it on. And now they can get their drivers in sync, in the right space to start winning races. If McLaren can really get their drivers to start winning races, to start giving ideas on how to use their tires, how to make pit stop, then next year will be a very, very great year in Formula 1. It's going to be a very competitive year in which we are going to all enjoy Formula 1. But let's see how McLaren progress, and also how Red Bull can come back from their sudden disaster, and also how Ferrari and Mercedes can live up to expectation and get themselves up to a winning standard. Let me know what you think about this in the comment section. But up until Monza, preview of Monza is coming up tomorrow. Just stay tuned for it. I love you guys, and we have a lot of shots in the pipeline. I love you guys. Bye. Cheers.